what do all of these lectures that I've been doing have to do with wellness and how we provide services? Well, let me tell you. So, I think it's really important to talk about history, systemic racism, bias, various obias, ableism, and disability, because that can have an impact on any of us at any point of our lives. And specifically, me as a Black woman in my lived experience, I am going to have a very different perspective on how to approach wellness. So we see it in healthcare all the time. So for example, Black birthing people are 3 to 4 times more likely to die in childbirth than white women. When I go to the doctor, when my family members have gone to the doctor, they are often not listened to. Now, it helps because I work in healthcare, I know the things to talk about, and I am also very much so not going to allow someone to dismiss my concerns. But not everybody has those advocacy skills, and not everyone knows what is even available to them as a patient. So the first thing that I'll say to that is always know that you have a patient bill of rights. You have the ability for transparent pricing. You also have the ability to look up price estimates for healthcare organizations. As of right now, that information is supposed to be available to you. You have the ability to look up information on your doctors, to look at reviews, which I am, for the most part, a fan of reviews, but we're human. We get emotional. We might be having a bad day sometimes. Even those reviews can be biased, particularly in the climate that we live in now. So that is just a point that I want to raise for right now. When we think about Black birthing people as it relates to having such high mortality rates, I want you to go back to even think about the father of modern gynecology. He used to experiment on Black women slaves for insert any curiosity or type of quote unquote medical procedure that he would then go and perform on white women. Those 3 women suffered greatly. So I just want to hold Anarcha, Betsy, and Lucy in my heart as we even have this conversation. I mean, Sims, go burn hell. Then we also can think about Henrietta Lacks. The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks is a book that I recommend that everyone reads. When we think about sterilization on women and people who are disabled, that also has happened. When we think about the book Killing the Black Body, it goes into detail about a lot of these things. When we think about the Tuskegee syphilis experiments, there are so many things that I could rattle off in terms of ways that Black people were harmed as it relates to the medical system. Even when we think about prisoners, that skin cream that you love so much, yeah, they were used as experiments when it comes to testing out these products. So we don't test on animals, but we're okay with testing on prisoners. Got it. So imagine if you really haven't done the work to think through that, how you might actually approach, again, I am speaking right now about Black women, for example. That's going to have an impact on your perception of Black women when you think about textbooks that are still around that say that Black people experience more pain. Hopefully you're picking up what I'm trying to put down in terms of looking at the medical system and how it has treated Black people in this country. Got it. Cool. Here we go. 4 minutes and 48 seconds of evaluating that. Now, I'll give you a personal example. I have done years worth of work in terms of understanding trauma-informed care, understanding healthcare, health and wellness spaces, health coaching, and all the things. And I work very, very, very hard on understanding how people might show up when it comes to a coach-client relationship, when it comes to a personal trainer-client relationship, and recognize that that same mistrust that, in this example, Black women have related to the medical system, they'll have that with you too. Because far too often, we have personal trainers, nutrition coaches, and other wellness people who practice outside of their scope. They blur that line, especially when it comes to supplements and providing education. And depending on the state that you are in, you have certain things that you have to abide by. And many people are not operating in that. I know, for example, I have a certification as a holistic nutritionist, but you'll hear me say holistic nutrition coach because in my state, I am not allowed to use that title because I don't care about nobody else. I'm not having the American Dietetics Association coming after me. I'm good on that. So you have to understand your scope. You also have to really and truly understand the historical practices related to said individuals. You have to understand their culture. You have to understand epigenetics as well as intergenerational trauma. Now, I think the other thing that we have to consider is understanding their education. If you are looking for a health and wellness professional, they should never have an issue providing you with their certification or their educational background. I can say for myself, I have a bachelor's degree in exercise physiology. I also combined my neuroscience and behavior program at my school and the kinesiology program at UMass Amherst to create said major. So I took additional courses, had to get special approval, had to have a committee review, had to do a presentation, and I've also done research in genetics as well as biomechanics, as well as cardiac, muscle, and tissue, and understanding as much as I possibly can about the human body, and I also have an autoimmune disease. Now, None of that is to brag or to say that I know more than anyone, but when you do not have the appropriate education, you can cause harm. And I think that's really important because I have worked with a lot of populations, from people who use various mobility aids to wheelchairs to people being able-bodied to people having a wide range of disabilities. And I work very closely with their doctors or their physical therapists. And I do that because I want to have a full understanding and a full scope of who you are as an individual. I'm not a therapist, so I'm not going to ask you about your childhood or anything like that. But as a health coach, I'm going to focus on the present and really listen and dive deep into allowing you to explore the why behind the decisions that you're making from a health perspective. So even when I just said that phrase, helping you dig deep into that why perspective, when we go back to slavery and thinking of people, specifically Black people in this country, they were seen as property. They were not seen as a full person. So when we are talking about the health and wellness relationships between client and coach or insert professional, you always have to remember that you have to allow that person to operate in their autonomy as a human being. Because without that, you are not really and truly providing a service for them, because they know themselves more than you ever will.